Have you ever wondered how different the readings are between the Whoop 3.0 and the Whoop 4.0? Well, if you have, stick around because that's what we're discussing today. What's up, superhumans? BT here. If you are new to this channel, if this is the first video of mine that you're seeing, well, first of all, welcome. I am super stoked to have you. Thank you for spending your precious time watching one of my videos. I like to create content that's going to help you move, feel, and perform better, both mentally and physically. So if you're into that sort of thing, if that sort of thing floats your boat, hit that subscribe button. As you know, I've been using this Whoop 4.0 for a little over a month now, and in the initial weeks of using it, I noticed that I was having a significant drop in strain compared to my Whoop 3.0. And I had a theory about that. And if you watch this video up here, you will know that that theory crashed and burned to the ground. Yes, later I found out my theory was totally wrong. I was false. And the reason I had such a significant drop in strain is because the HR, the heart rate that Whoop sets for you in their algorithm, was too high. Now, this is something I couldn't fix myself. I had to reach out to Whoop and ask them if they could fix it. They were kind enough to do just that. And now everything is much more accurate and strains are much more familiar. But after posting that video, a loyal viewer just like you, Ben Cook, reached out and was like, hey man, I've got a great video idea. Why don't you do a simultaneous comparison of the Whoop 3.0 to the Whoop 4.0 and let us know what you find out? Well, Ben, that was a super good video idea. And that's what we're doing today. I am comparing for 24 hours, just the readings off the Whoop 3.0 to the Whoop 4.0. So we're not going into battery or form factor or anything like that, just straight up what they measure and what that looks like. But in order to do this, there are some logistical hurdles we have to clear. First of all, we need two devices. You can't put two accounts on one device. So I'm gonna be rocking my iPad Pro and my phone. The second thing is actually accounts. You can't actually have like a sub account, so I can't have a main account, an account within that account. So I had to create a second account. Thankfully, Whoop offers 2 free months of free months. Man, that was redundant as hell. But anyway, they offer 2 free months. So I can try it out, get the data, and future Brandon here. I am sorry, but I totally made a mistake. That's actually not correct. Whoop is not just going to give anybody 2 free months willy-nilly. Unfortunately, maybe you should, Whoop. Instead, this 2 free months that I was talking about is Whoop's 4.0 upcycle program. So when you give somebody your old 3.0, they can try it out for 2 free months. That's why I was able to make the account and I got 2 free months. But I'm sorry I made that mistake. I just want you to know about it. First of all, let me clear the air. This is not going to be a serious review. This is going to have more of a relaxed feel, all right? Besides, 24 hours isn't nearly enough time to do a serious comparison. Now, I do want to do that. Let me know if that's something you want to see, if we should come back here in a month and revisit those metrics. So this is just going to be for fun. I thought it was a great video idea, and I'm interested to see what we'll find out. So we're going to be taking a look at the 3 scores that Whoop tracks. We've got strain, sleep, and recovery. Now with strain, I think this is going to be really interesting because we can actually look at a simultaneous real-time heart rate readings from both the 3.0 and the 4.0 using Whoop's live feature, which is pretty damn cool. Also, we're going to be taking a look at all of the metrics for that entire workout, not just the heart rate. And we'll be taking a look at the entire day and see how those strains compare. Next, we'll be tracking a full night of sleep. I think this is going to be really interesting because I've seen on other reviews of these 2 products how similar they are in tracking sleep. And we know sleep is pretty vital for recovery. And that's the next thing we'll be looking at is how does strain and how does the sleep impact the recovery? And I will tell you right now, you're gonna wanna stick around for this part because this is where things get super interesting. All right, so earlier I mentioned that with the 4.0, I was getting significantly lower strain scores than after using my Whoop 3.0 for a few years. However, when doing this test, I found quite the opposite, which is really weird. Take a look at this. As you can see here, the Whoop 3.0 tallied a daily strain of 13.1. The Whoop 4.0 tallied a strain of 15.4. And if we go into the home screen, we can take a deeper dive into the activities that both of these devices recorded. As you can see, 2 activities were recorded. All right, both of them functional fitness. Now, I will say, even though the times are exact, I made it that way. All right, I wanted to normalize the time of activity so we'd have a much better comparison. However, the Whoop 3.0 was a little slower than the 4.0 in auto-detecting that I was doing a workout. It seemed to be about 5 minutes behind. Not a lot, but it was there, and I just want you to know about it. Now, looking at each of these activities, you can see a higher strain with the 4.0 compared to the 3.0. If we look at that first workout, that was merely just to shoot some B-roll. You can see that I've got a 5.6 with the Whoop 4.0 compared to a 4.7 with the Whoop 3. Not to mention that the Whoop 4.0 got a strain score of 12.3 as opposed to a 9.7 with the Whoop 3. That's a pretty significant difference. Also, the Whoop 3.0 had a 8 BPM higher spike than the 4.0. You can see that there's a pretty substantial difference in the calories burned, average heart rate, and max heart rate between the two. And this does make sense. The 3.0 isn't as accurate, and the lack of accuracy results in higher spikes, more erratic behavior, higher spikes, and bigger valleys. If we look at the heart rate for the Whoop 4.0 during this workout, you can see that it doesn't drop below 100. Yet for the 3.0, it drops all the way down to almost 75. And if we pull up the real-time heart rate from the workouts, you can see just how different those heart rate readings are. Now, to finish the day, I burnt 3,180 calories on the Whoop 4.0 and 2,803 with the 3.0. And you might be thinking at this point, wait a sec, why is this so different from what you were telling us in that other video? I thought you said that the 3.0 strain was way higher. I did, and I do have an idea as to what's going on, and we'll talk about that in my final thoughts, so stick around. All right, now taking a look at sleep, you can see that the amounts are very similar, but they are different. And I didn't want to normalize these. I wanted you to see that the Whoop 3.0 and the 4.0 are auto-detecting and measuring the lengths of sleep differently. However, sleep performance is pretty damn close, and that would be 6 hours and 24 minutes for the 4.0 and 6 hours and 13 minutes for the 3.0. And you can see that in the heart rate, this is very similar, although there are some spikes that are registering on the 3.0 that aren't on the 4. But time in bed, respiratory rate, disturbances are all very similar with only some minor variants. Same with the sleep stages here, they were actually very similar. The largest gaps came in light sleep, where the 4.0 measured 13 more minutes than the 3. And in the awake time, the 3.0 measured 15 more minutes than the 4.0. But as you can see here, deep sleep was identical. That's a weird word, identical. It sounds funny, like golf. Okay, so that brings us to today. 24 hours of wearing the Whoop 3.0 and the Whoop 4.0. The exact same activities, the exact same amount of time doing those activities, very similar sleep scores, but how does all of that translate and equate into our recovery score? The Whoop 4.0 shows a recovery of 69%, but the Whoop 3.0 is 30% lower. And if you think that's interesting, check this out. If you look at the recovery statistics, you'll see that HRV is only 1 off. Resting heart rate is identical, sleep is only 1 minute off, and respiratory rate is only 0.1 off. But yet they couldn't be more different in how they're measuring total recovery. Okay, so why is this happening? Well, I do have a theory, and take that for what you will, because my last theory was totally blown out of the water. Now, I just got the 3.0. In essence, right? I've had it for many years, but I started a completely new account. And when you do that, this is what happens. There is a calibration period. You can actually see right here. It says calibrating. Day 2 of 4. Whoop is continuing to gather heart rate variability, resting heart rate, and respiratory rate baseline data to more accurately assess your recovery. So what does that mean? They're saying, hey, we need more time to create the most accurate baseline we possibly can on you. I've said this in many videos. One of the best things about Whoop is the longer you use it, the better it gets. And a part of that is because it's developing kind of this health metric portfolio on you. And it's also why I said this isn't a serious review, because 24 hours isn't nearly long enough for that baseline to be developed. That's also why I asked, would you like to see what would happen, how these would differ in a month? Would you like me to keep using these, let the baseline develop a little bit more, and see if they're a little more similar in a month's time? I think this could be really interesting, especially if you're somebody that's using the 3.0 and you've been wondering if you should be upgrading to the 4.0. Is it worth it? Well, if these numbers are negligible, probably not, for simply the metric reasons, right? We're not talking about the form factor, the new band, or the new clasp, or the fact that it's got a waterproof battery. I'm talking purely from a metric standpoint. Is it worth it? This video could help with that. So if you are interested, let me know in the comments down below. I thought this was kind of fun. I honestly did. It was kind of fun to see just the similarities, and yet how different they were despite some of that info being so similar. I thought it was really cool. Did you? If you did, please hit that like button down here. It is the absolute #1 thing you can do to say, hey, I liked your video. Thank you for putting the time and the effort into making that and making it entertaining for me. Also, the YouTubeverse is massive, and so it would go a long way with just helping this video get seen by more people just like you. So please do that. And if you want to see more videos to help you move, feel, and perform better, both mentally and physically, you know it, hit that subscribe button and the notification bell. Thanks again for watching. I will catch you on the next one. Peace. Yeah.